Taxes and Income Lesson 4, How to Read Your Pay Stub. In the last lesson, you learned all about the different types of taxes and deductions that can affect your paycheck. In this lesson, we're going to go over the basics of what a pay stub is, how to read it, and what to verify to make sure that you were paid correctly. Everybody loves payday. Cashing a paycheck feels great, but there's more to payday than just putting your money in your bank account. You need to know how to read your pay stub as well, because a paycheck and a pay stub are not the same thing. A paycheck is an actual check that you can deposit into your bank account, and a pay stub is a document that summarizes the amounts on the paycheck and gives other necessary information, such as the number of hours that you worked that pay period, your gross pay, and different types of deductions and net pay. If you get a physical check from your employer, your pay stub is usually attached to the check. If your check is automatically deposited into your bank account via direct deposit, then your employer will typically have to have a way for you to view your pay stub online. Depending on who your employer uses for their payroll processing, your pay stubs might look a little different from one company to the next. On top of that, taxes vary by state, and you may have additional deductions such as healthcare, dental, vision, a retirement account. Because of this, your paycheck could look very different from a coworker who might make the exact same amount of money you do per hour. So let's look at a sample earnings statement, which is also known as a pay stub. As you learned in the last lesson, gross pay is the total amount of money that you earned during that pay period. However, this is not the amount that you take home. Net pay is the actual amount of money that you take home after all of the deductions. And speaking of deductions, there can be a lot of them. Mandatory deductions are withheld from your paycheck for things like income taxes and FICA, which is Social Security tax and Medicare tax. And depending on how much money you earn, income taxes and FICA combined could be anywhere from 18% of your gross pay to over half of your gross pay, depending on the state that you live in. Voluntary deductions are things that you signed up for that are deducted from your gross pay. This could be anything from contributing to your retirement account to different types of insurance benefits, such as healthcare, dental, and vision. You might also have the ability to choose to pay for other things like life insurance or disability insurance, and sometimes even pet insurance. The types of benefits offered will vary depending on the employer. If you have a job that requires you to pay union dues or uniform expenses, they're usually going to be deducted from your paycheck automatically. If you have any of the other legal issues that we talked about back in the debt module, like child support, alimony, or any of the other type of wage garnishments, they're also going to be deducted automatically from your paycheck. It's important to stay on top of your pay stubs and review them for any errors. If you're working for a medium to a large size company, their payroll departments have to process hundreds or even thousands of employees' paychecks, and people are people. They make mistakes. Just remember that it's up to you to be diligent about reviewing your pay stub every pay period. If you find an error, you need to report it to your manager and or the human resources department if they have one to find out what the process is for getting it corrected. The first thing you want to do is make sure all of your personal information is correct. Some employers include your full name, social security number, and address on your pay stub. If they do, and you receive a paper copy, make sure to store it in a safe place to help prevent any kind of identity theft. Do not ever throw it in the trash. The next thing to check is the pay period, which tells you the date range in which you're going to be paid for. You want to verify that you were paid for the actual days that you worked. You're also going to want to verify that all of the hours that you worked are listed. If they're incorrect and you don't catch it, you could accidentally be paid for fewer hours than you worked, which would result in a smaller paycheck. If you worked more than 40 hours per week, you're entitled to receive overtime pay. This is 1.5 times your normal hourly wage. If you're working on a federal holiday, you should definitely ask if there's extra pay involved. Government employees receive double overtime for working on federal holidays, and while it's not required, oftentimes regular employers do the same thing as well. Year-to-date information contains all of the amounts that you paid for deductions, plus how much you've earned throughout the year. Now you should have a better understanding of how to read an earnings statement, or better known as a pay stub, and be aware of some of the important things you need to check for. In the next lesson, you're going to learn about tax brackets, which determine the amount of taxes that are withheld from your paycheck based on the amount of money that you earn.